Hi everyone, welcome back to If My Heart Had Wings, Kotori's Route, Episode 4. So we are starting to hit some of the more romantic parts of Kotori's Route. And it started with Kotori and her sister Hibari getting into some argument. So Hibari wanted to take Kotori home for the Obon Festival, which is a major festival, and it's best if they celebrate as a family. And on top of that, Kotori's parents miss Kotori, but Kotori refuses, and she used Hat to scare Hibari out from her room, and that got Aoi's attention. And when Aoi tried to talk to Kotori about the problem, Kotori kicks him out and it's like, well, this is a family problem, so you stay out of it. And now Kotori regrets her words and she wonders if Aoi will hate her for those harsh words. And it's gotten to the point where Kotori and Aoi can't really talk to each other, and it's got the attention of everyone else in the soaring club, including the new twins, so Asa and Yoru. So I wonder how they're going to make up after that little incident. So Kotori's like, so Kotori thinks that there's still some hope to make up to Aoi. Okay, so no more rain. It was the day that the rain, which had stretched over several days, stopped. So what's exciting? So the improved airframe was finally complete. Okay, so this is what the new glider looks like. And I'm sure they just used the old one and they modified it. And we can see that they painted it green instead of the blue that we saw before. So standing before the object they put with their blood, sweat, and tears into, everyone was filled with emotion. So we did it. Standing a bit away from me, Kotori's eyes were shining with just a bit of happiness. And seeing that, Ageha winked and smiled at me secretly. And nodded back at her. There's still a bit of distance from Kotori though. However, the awkwardness from before is gone. So now everyone's focused on being excited about this glider being complete. It seemed we were both waiting for a good time to make up. Okay. Alright. Okay, I'll help. So we take apart the assembled airframe and load it into the trailer. Okay, so it's time for a test flight, if I get this right. And today we will go to the runway and do a test. There you go. A test with our new model glider. So today was Asa's first time to do assembly work on the glider body. It's not difficult work, but mistakes can lead to large accidents. That's true. So when people involved with gliders do assembly work by themselves like this, they begin to understand the composition and functions of the airframe. Okay, but it's still good to have someone else check over to make sure it's put together correctly.
ついに完成したのか。
And Anchan says this while gazing at the improved glider being assembled. I had gotten him to help with transporting the glider. Once again, I would imagine Anchan feeling connected to this glider too. Well, we do remember that Anchan was part of the soaring club when he was a student at Keifu Academy, and he was working with Amane, but then Tatsuya or Anchan graduated first, while Amane remained in school.
正直、お前たちがここまでやるとは思わなかったぞ。
On top of that, if I remember, Ageha and Kotori were working at Tatsuya's place to make some money to buy parts for the glider. Okay, well, thanks to your help, Anchan. He provided us with the cheap materials, searched far, difficult to find parts, and sometimes helped with building. There you go.
俺も見たかったんだ。こいつが飛ぶところ。今日は葵が操縦するのか？
Yeah. It's my first time in a while to fly here. Until today, I had been using my weekend and doing training at runway a distance away. And if I remember, the owners of this land didn't want to accept the glider because it was not a club yet. And they did get orders from the school, Tobi Sensei, that the club is disbanded and shut down. But now it's approved, they allow the glider to be used on this piece of land. Well, I'm different than what I was a year ago.
アマネは来てないんだな。
Well, she says she's busy because she's an adult. Even if she isn't here today, she'll have plenty of chances to see a test flight.
Aoi, cockpit お願い。ポジティブコントロールチェックするから。
Okay. All right. So I got into the cockpit and checked the piloting system, so make sure all the controls work, all the gauges work. And the wings and tail assembly have been remade, so it feels different from before. True?
Okay, 次は後部座席ね。
Okay, rear seats. We carefully undertake various types of checks. Of course, Asa and the others, new students, were nervous, but so were Ageha, Kotori, and me. And it's our first test flight in a long time.
じゃあ役割分担の確認だけど。
Okay.
まずパイロットは葵ね。で、ウィンチ操作が私で。私じゃないの？
Well, I think Kotori is going to be one of the people inside the glider. So, a pilot or a passenger?
ううん、私がするの。で、朝ちゃんが翼端を持って走ってね。
Okay, so in the past, it was Kotori who operated the winch, but now Ageha's going to take over that role, and then the person or the ground support who holds the wings while the glider runs down the runway, that's going to be Asa now.
はい、頑張ります。夜ちゃんは周囲の安全確認をお願い。わかったわ。私は
So, where do I fit? Says Kotori. So Kotori asked with insecurity in her voice. Without a word, Ageha winked at me. Oh, so you're gonna sit over there. I mentioned. Okay, so I motioned to the seat with my thumb. Kotori looked around at everyone's faces. Until coming here, Kotori had been assigned to the position of controlling the winch. However, no one is surprised that things are having been hurriedly changed. And that's because there had been a meeting beforehand with everyone except for Kotori. Kotori also realized that when she saw everyone's unnatural expression. So I made you a promise, right? So I'll let you ride first. So Kotori had been looking at me vacantly as I blushed, but soon she blushed even more. But I don't think I should be first because I didn't do much compared to Ageha. And I couldn't really do much anyways. That's not true. Well, I'm sure Asa is even less of a priority than Kotori is on the list of people to ride in the glider. Well, okay, so I'm on the club, so. So, you're the club president, so you should have first priority to be the passenger. So Kotori glanced upwards at me nervously. And as there has been some awkwardness in the past several days, I can expect her to suddenly show happiness. Okay, I'll ride. So Kotori was lifted by the others and put into the rear seat of the glider. So, seatbelt secure, tight, or loose? It's good. Okay, so don't touch the control stick, okay? So I'll be the person who's flying, just sit and watch. So I spoke to Kotori as I got into the front seat.
Aoi, これは改良型の初フライトなんだから、あんまり無茶な飛び方しちゃダメよ。
So be careful, okay, this is all new. We don't know how it's going to perform. Of course, I won't. So close the canopy.
はいよ。小鳥、いってらっしゃい。
Okay, so the canopy is closed. Outside sound was blocked by the clear dome. Okay, so I felt a sense of nervousness coming from the rear seat. And outside, Ageha was running towards the winch. Yoru is inspecting the surrounding conditions from a distance away, and Asa is checking the tow line. Okay, so finally, it's time for the improved glider's first flight. And the wings are all made together. Will fly through the air. And the promise I made with Kotori a year ago will be fulfilled. Okay, so the air current is calm today. We won't be able to fly very high, but this is perfect for our first flight. Okay? But if you get scared, just tell me. I'll land right away. So, are you ready? I heard Ageha's voice through the radio. So are you alright, Kotori? Okay, we're good. I answered Ageha and gave the signal to Asa. And Asa walked around to the side of the body and lifted the wing, which had been leaning on the ground. Okay. So the runway's been checked. Okay, so lift us up.
了解。行くよ。
So the tow line was pulled and the glider began to move. It accelerated suddenly. Asa was running with all her might, but soon let go of the wing. Okay, so I pulled the control stick. Glider, which had been running over the weed-covered bumpy ground, gently lifted up. So are we lifting off? So when the glider floated near the ground, it was pulled by the winch and picked up more speed. Okay, I'm going higher. I pulled the control stick back and aimed the nose upwards. And the airframe suddenly began to gain altitude. Oh, wow! And while feeling the G's with my whole body, I gripped the control stick so the glider wouldn't lose control. And we got further from the ground and the sky spread out before us outside the canopy. Okay, I'm going to disconnect. So as we got directly above the winch, I pulled the release lever. And the hook was disconnected and the tow line was released from the underside of the airframe. And we were released from the force that had been pulling us back, and the glider was thrown into the sky. And I quickly turned and checked the tow line disconnection. And there is the tow line. Okay, so confirmed. So Kotori has seen this before, but before she was on the ground, and Amane was the passenger. So Kotori, who had always been in charge of the winch, was looking at the small parachute from below. Okay, so takeoff successful. As I announced this, Kotori looked at the outside view from the rear seat. So are you scared? No, this is good. So I'm facing forward so I can see, but I'm sure that Kotori's round eyes are sparkling. Well, that was how her voice was. Okay, so to check the feel of the new wings, first I slowly flow over the runway. And so it responds to the rudder more quickly than the old wings. But the feeling of gliding is smooth. And this is a test flight, so I have to remember the sensation and report it to Ageha later. So how is it? Right now it has a good feel. It's more sensitive than the old glider, but the gliding itself is smooth. So Kotori, what about you? So it feels great. So do your best. So what does she have to do her best at? Well, I have a grasp of the feel, so I'll stretch out my legs a little bit. So just be careful, okay? Shall we go back to the place then? So what's the place? Oh, so Windmill Hill. So Kotori answered like she felt it was a good idea. True. I tilted the control stick to the side, stepped on the rudder pedal, and flew the glider towards the lake. And now we see Asa kind of being in the place of where Kotori was.
どうアサちゃん、自分が作った翼が飛んでるのを見る気分は？なんだか不思議です。どうしてあんなものが飛べるんでしょう。不思議だよね。 ちゃんと空中でバランスを保ちながら滑空してるんだもんね。どこかへ行くみたい。湖の方かしら。
So you're always wondering where the glider's going.
ここで飛ぶ時の定番コースだからね。
So that's our usual place to go. So the glider crossed over the lake and drew near the area above Windmill Hill.
いい眺め。この湖ってこんなに大きかったんだ。
So we were at the edge of the north side of the lake, and the lake is long and thin vertically, but in particular, this portion of it is narrow, almost like a river. And I wonder if it's good to call it a lake. But anyways, so thanks to that, crossing over it as a glider is simple. So I slowly flew the glider over the peak of Windmill Hill. And there was a bit of warm air current. So I like the view here most of all.
いいね。立ち並ぶ風車が綺麗。街も見渡せるし。あれ、私たちの秘密基地かな。
So now Kotori is trying to see, okay, so what can I see up here? The places that we usually go to. Like the secret base. So I saw the dock or the hangar's round roof in the area that Kotori was looking at. So it's a rather large building, but looks small from here. So do you remember it the day we first met?
もちろんよ。
So right over in that area, so your wheelchair had gotten a flat tire, remember? That was episode 1.
そこに葵くんが来て修理してくれたのよね。
Well, I think it was just Aoi initially. And that was before he met with other people. And that was before they knew about the soaring club. Because it was just Amane back then. And then the glider that Amane was piloting came flying in. So remember after that we saw this glider and you were all excited about it? So had even one of those coincidences not happened, we may not have been enjoying our time together in the sky.
上から見るとこんな風なのね。
So Kotori looked down though, the canopy and spoke with emotion. I flew around the area slowly just as Amane had done the first time. Or at that time.
葵くん。
So Kotori called my name nervously from the back. Yes?
ありがとう。
What?
コックピットのこと。
So she was talking about the blueprint that Amane had drawn for us. So Kotori's happy that he considered her when he modified the cockpit to fit Kotori and allow her to fly despite the disabilities. But I didn't do anything. I just leaned, or I just learned that there was a cockpit for people with disability and collected information. Amane had found it by chance and drawn a blueprint for us. Well, I'm sure I was the first person who started it, and then he probably left the history of browsing intact, and that's how Amane was able to catch onto it afterwards. Well, it's not like I asked for it. If you want to thank someone, tell Amane. But still, like I said, I was the first person who started it.
私のことなのに自分のことみたいに喜んでくれたでしょ?
But the fact that you were considering me, I'm happy.
嬉しかったの。
Yeah. So I felt a little embarrassed to be told that. And at that time, I hadn't dreamed that Amane would prepare something like that for us. So in my surprise, I got excited. I had gotten too happy, so Kotori, who should have been happy, felt confused.
それに探してくれてたんでしょ？そういうコックピットを。
And it was obviously for me, right? I just found it on the net by chance, and I thought, so if we had this, maybe Kotori could fly by herself.
ありがとう。
Well, I didn't do anything warranty be thanked. Well, I don't know how Aoi doesn't understand that he was the one who started it all. And he keeps going, well, it's not me, it's Amane who did it. Because Amane just took the idea and made it a reality. So the problem was that Aoi was going to buy it, but it's expensive and he has to import it. And Amane's like, oh, well, we can make it ourselves. Make it just like the blueprint. So we don't have to buy the whole cockpit and import it. So being thanked, even though I didn't do anything special, actually made me feel weird. But I'm glad that Amaya drew the blueprint. When we finish building the cockpit, you can fly too. Okay, so you'll have to train really hard, you know. So even though we have something for you, you'll have to learn how to use it. And be certified. I jokingly spoke in a threatening manner, but Kotori nodded solemnly from the rear seat.
それとね。
And? So Kotori hesitates as though it's hard to say.
この間のことだけど。
So I heard the sound of her inhaling as though she was taking a deep breath. So going to that little Hibari incident.
ひどいこと言ってごめんね。
It's okay. So I don't want to hear from you, Aoi-kun.
あれは違うの。葵くんはいつも私の味方をしてくれるって思ってて。
Well, I know you are concerned about me, and that's why you came in.
なのに、そうじゃないこと言われた気がして、それで。
So her voice made it sound like she was about to cry. True? I couldn't hear it, so I began to speak. Well, no, well, I'm sorry that, I intruded on your personal matters.
違うの。
So Kotori reflexively cut me off.
葵くんにはもっと立ち入ったことを言ってほしい。
So, well, I was happy that you came to talk to me, because that was when I was feeling down, I needed some help.
葵くんがそういうことを言うのはおかしなことじゃないの。
Kotori?
私バカだし強情だし素直じゃないから時々あんな態度取っちゃうけど。
I just had trouble finding the right words to say. That's all.
でもあれは本当の気持ちじゃないの。
And I probably used the wrong words that made me sound offensive, but
そのこと知っててほしい。
okay, I'll remember. I could sense Kotori's relief. It was though the tension that had continued since the canopy had closed finally dissipated. Alright, so can I say something a little bit intrusive?
いいよ。
So what is it? Well, I love you. I like you, not as a friend, but as a girl.
あの
Well, maybe it's a nuisance for you, but I want you to know. And likewise, Kotori would turn red. Kotori stopped talking. And there was awkward silence. And just as I become nervous, I surprised her. So Kotori is happy. I realized that Kotori was crying. Kotori?
これ夢じゃないよね。
No, I'm pretty sure we're awake, so I'm really saying this to you.
私も好き。葵くんのこと好き。
And while crying, Kotori spoke with all her might. Her voice carried through the inside of the canopy. And I felt it was not just with my ears, but with my entire body. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And what I felt was more relief than happiness. So we both feel the same way.
そうだね。
Which means we're dating, right?
今からずっと。
I see. Hee. My happiness had been delayed and finally boiled over. Ha ha ha, yeah. And Kotori's surprised at my sudden laughter.
どうしたの？
So what's happening now? I couldn't stop. I'm so happy. Kotori, I like you. I love you. I surrounded myself to the overflow emotions and lifted this control stick. Uh-oh. So he's so happy that he's putting his happiness on the flight controls. And if you remember, Ageha told Aoi to not go too overboard with the glider. The glider spins around while flying. And I was carried away at this point. And I'm sure everyone outside can see what's going on. And you have to remember that they're flying, so it's bad to be playing with the controls in flight. Oh, I'm so glad Kotori says she likes me.
好きだよ。
And taking in the G's inside the cockpit, Kotori answers frantically. I like you too, Kotori. The glider spins and does some somersaults. Like my happiness had been transferred to the glider. There you go.
こら、テストだっつってでしょうが。
And likewise, Ageha picked up on it. So Ageha's scolding voice came through the radio transceiver.
初フライトでなんちゅう飛び方してんの。
Hey, so what's with that kind of acrobatic maneuvers? I'm sorry, I just got a little excited. I panicked and leveled the cockpit out, or the plane. Kotori, are you alright?
ちょっと目が回っただけ。
Well, I'm happy even though I'm dizzy.
嬉しいのは分かったから。とりあえずおめでとう。
Huh? Wait, congratulations?
おめでとうございます。葵先輩、小鳥先輩。何？どういうこと？
So what happened?
さっきから全部ダダ漏れよ。おかげでこっちはむずがゆくてたまらないわ。
So we heard everything that you were saying a while ago, and we got excited.
ああ、なんか後部座席の無線がずっとオンになってたみたい。
And it seems that the passenger radio was on. Oh no! So I always all shocked and he's freaking out like.
嘘。
And same thing with Kotori.
無線機がトラブってるみたいね。いやー、気づくのが遅れたわ。
So we did kind of see that there was something wrong with your radio, and then when we realized it, this is what it turned out to be. You liar, you must have realized it right away.
でもおかげで素敵な瞬間に立ち会うことができました。ロマンチックです。大空の告白。私てっきりわざと聞かせてるのかと思ってたわ。
And it kind of sounded like you're putting on a show for us. These people.
あ
So is this what you had in mind for the whole time? Maybe. I'm sure it was an accident, and now I was trying to cover it up. I had intended to tell Kotori my feelings on today's test flight. So he did have it planned along, but he wanted to keep it a secret from everyone. And I'm sure having the radio kept on, that was a mistake. So it was a chance for us to have some time alone, just like the two of us. And there was no worry about being overheard by anyone, or so I had thought. There you go. Okay, so the transmission ended. Kotori? So Kotori was looking down, her face beat red. And after that, we stayed in the sky as long as we could and took as much time as possible to land on the runway. Okay, so they're now landed. So we succeeded in landing without any problems, and when we released the lock, the canopy was opened from the outside. Ageha and the others greeted us with smiles on their faces that were so wide it made me feel sick. Hello, welcome back. Uh...
さあ、朝ちゃん、夜ちゃん、小鳥ちゃんを下ろすのを手伝って。はーい。
So Kotori, who had came down from the cockpit and sat in the wheelchair, was blushing deeply and had an unhappy expression on her face.
そんなに警戒しなさんなって。別に冷やかしたりしないから。
Oh, don't worry, we won't make fun of you for it, so...
そうしてもらえるとありがたいわ。私、今、恥ずかしすぎて死にそうだから。葵先輩、お疲れ様です。いろいろとお疲れ様。
Great job! You're going to make fun of me, aren't you? Asa's eyes were sparkling like those of a heroine from a comic book, and a smile crept onto Yor's mouth. So Yor's giving this mischievous smile. And when I blushed, my cheek was slapped from behind. So I think Tatsu also heard the confessions. Like, that was great. Wait, you, Anchan? You were pretty cool. So being told by Anchan made me feel bashful, but happy. So anyways, back to the technical details. So how's the glider? Yeah, I told you over the radio, but it's still a little pitchy, so it's easy to pilot once you get used to it. So the controls are quite different, they're more sensitive, but it is manageable. So the feeling of gliding was smooth too, the sink rate was low, and compared to the other older model, it seemed like this will be able to stay in the air for longer. So any more adjustments? It doesn't need anything right now. Okay. So I have to check whether there was damage to the parts during the first flight a moment ago. And we will still fly it several more times today. I met eyes with Kotori for just an instant, and then headed towards the cockpit.
Kotori?
So, congratulations. Okay, so Ageha, I'm ready. So from a distance away, Kotori watched blankly as we did our preparations for the next flight. Okay, so it's been some time, so the improved glider's test flight had been a success. In many ways. While it did need minor adjustments, there were no larger issues. While taking breaks, we flew until sunset. And in that time, Asayoru and Ageha also got to ride. Nasa seemed extremely pleased and was so moved by the scenery she saw from the sky. And flying with wings that we made gave us something more than just flying. So, the satisfaction that their work didn't go to waste and it did do its job. So after the test flight, Ageha came with us back to the dorms and we had a meeting to review the day while eating dinner. And it actually turned into a meeting full of self-praise where we said our glider is the best and talked about how exciting flying had been. Afterwards, I cleaned up the area. So Ageha came into the cafeteria or the kitchen while drying her hair with a bath towel. So she sat in front of me or the fan, turned it all the way up and put her face near it. True? Well, has everyone already taken a bath? Well, except for Kotori. Wait, she hasn't? So what is she doing anyways? Well, she's just in her room. So during dinner, Kotori had not spoken much. And it seemed like she was silent because she didn't want to be made fun of regarding everything with me. And what's more, she hasn't been speaking in the past few days, so perhaps she had forgotten how to talk to everyone. So why don't you go see her then? Well, after I finish cleaning up. Ageha looks at me with a face that says, well, I know you want to go to see her now. Well, I act oblivious and wash the dishes. Yes? Well, actually, I feel like we had this conversation before. But I never thought that this would be possible. Wait, so is there any problem? So I wonder how this started. So, Aoi-kun, ask me. Or Aoi. So Ageha bends toward or forward like an old lady who loves to gossip. I don't know. What do you mean, I don't know? It just kind of happened. True. I wonder when it was that I realized this. When I came to like her more than a friend. But even then, I wasn't thinking about her in that way. Anyways, we were together every day and we were so close that Ageha called us best friends. I didn't need to ask for anything more. So maybe I actually began to think about it when Kotori received that love letter. That might be like something that kind of got Aoi's attention. So he did get a little upset when he heard about it, and he was wondering how Kotori would respond to it. So seeing Kotori receive that love letter from someone whose face she didn't even know and get all flustered, I become unsettled in spite of myself. Well, I thought that maybe Kotori would go away. And thinking about it was heartbreaking. I realized that I like Kotori.
まあしゃあないか。もしそういう関係になってなかったとしても一番の親友だった女の子だもんね。その好きがどの好きか結構ごっちゃになっちゃうかも。
Yeah, well, something like that. So Ageha opened the fridge and took a bottle of cider that she had been chilling. And then she drank it all at once.
やっぱ風呂上がりはこれに限るわ。
Well, you aren't bothered by this?
何が？
What do you mean? Well, Kotori and me and dating?
何それ？やきもち焼くかってこと？
Well, no, not that. I mean, like, sometimes it happens, you know, things get awkward or whatever.
それはその時になってみないとわからないけど、でも私嬉しいよ。葵と小鳥が付き合ってくれて。
So, really?
二人のことは親友だし大好きだもん。大好きな人同士がくっついてくれて嬉しいよ。
She says this nonchalantly.
まあやきもち焼かないかって言われると実はあんまし自信はないんだけど。でもさ、小鳥って危なっかしいじゃん。見てて心配になるっていうかさ。けど葵ならあの子のこと幸せにしてくれそうなんだもん。
Well, Ageha?
なんつってな。ちょっとカッコつけちまったぜ。
So Ageha spoke jokingly and then finished the rest of her cider. And then she picked up the remote and turned on the TV.
お、始まってる。
Okay, so my show's starting. So the variety TV show that Ageha watches every week has begun. And Ageha turned... Okay, so Ageha took the cafeteria chair, turned it backwards, and started watching TV while holding the back of her seat. I finished washing the dishes, turned off the water, and wiped off my hands. Okay, alright, so I guess I'll take my bath then.
いってらっしゃい。
Okay, so see you later. Ageha spoke while facing the TV.
しばらく邪魔しないであげるから頑張ってね。
Hey, you didn't have to say that. I murmured as I left the cafeteria. Hey, so Kotori? So I think he's going to check out Kotori first. I wonder if it's her room or he's just wondering if Kotori's still in the bath. So Kotori, are you there?
わー。
Hello? Hat at your service. So Hat poked his head through the special door. So, hey, is your person inside?
わわ。
I don't understand, but it seems that she's not there. So I wonder where Kotori is. Okay, so where is she? I thought maybe she went to the bath, but I don't hear anything from the bathroom. I wonder if she's in Asa's room then. Probably not. But Kotori is in a wheelchair, so she can't go to the second floor by herself. True. And when she talks to people who lives on the second floor, it's usually in the cafeteria or the kitchen or in her own room. I wonder if she went out. I think that's the most likely case.
心配しないで。毎日楽しくやってるよ。
Okay, so I think Kotori's calling someone. Probably the parents and Hibari.
友達もいっぱいいるし、それに今日ね。やっぱりなんでもない。
Wait, Kotori? And that would catch her off guard. So I put my hands on Kotori's shoulder from behind and spoke into her ear. She jumped up in her wheelchair like a cat and gave a shriek. So in doing so, she almost dropped the cell phone she was holding.
なんでもないの。ちょっとバカなアヒルにいたずらされただけ。
Oh, it's just that duck hat.
ほんと困るのよね、バカでさ。
So she scowls at me and I mouth, well, I'm sorry. So from behind, the cell phone was hidden in her hair. I could see it. I thought she'd be staring at the stars, basking in the sentimental feeling.
わかった。じゃあ待ってるね。おやすみ。
So Kotori spoke in a gentle tone she doesn't even use for us, and then hung up her phone. Well, I'm sorry.
もう急に変な声出しちゃったからお父さんに本気で心配されちゃったじゃない。
Okay, so Kotori's calling her dad, and when Aoi scared or shocked Kotori, the dad picked it up. It's like, anything wrong? Oh, you're on the phone with your family, huh?
久しぶりに声聞きたくなって。それでね、お盆の間だけ実家に帰ることにしたの。
Okay, so I agreed to go home for the Aban festival. Really?
心配かけてばかりだし、今幸せなんだってことちゃんと報告しときたくて。
I see. So was your dad happy then?
すごく
Obviously.
嬉しそうだった。
So he's obviously going to be
だけ
happy.
ど
So what's the but?
明日の朝迎えに来るって。
So he'll pick me up tomorrow. What? Wait, what?
お父さんが車で迎えに来るの、明日の朝に。
So your dad doesn't waste any time at all then, does he? So coming this morning after a phone call must really mean he really wanted to see Kotori. Well, that's obviously true, given that she rarely goes home.
だからしばらく会えなくなっちゃう。せっかくそのお付き合いを始めたのに。
Okay, yeah, that's true. I guess it can't be helped. So Kotori really seems sorry, but it wouldn't be right to stop her from going home. So why do you look so uneasy?
だってうちに泊まるの久しぶりだし、それに。
So Kotori slowly casts her eyes downwards. So I heard a little bit from Hibari about why you left your house. So it was really painful, wasn't it? So being with your family, watching your parents who were engulfed in sadness, and thinking that she was the cause of it and blaming herself. It must have been so hard. And Kotori nodded silently, perhaps thinking back to that time. So, but things are different now, right? So a moment ago, your voice sounded so gentle.
あの頃はね、お父さんもお母さんもいつも悲しそうにしてた。まるで私の人生がもう終わっちゃったみたいに。ただ足が動かなくなっちゃっただけなのにね。私が事故に遭ったのは自分たちのせいだって思ってて、私に向かって言うのよ。ごめんね、ごめんねって。私は心の中でいつも自分を責めてた。家族をむちゃくちゃにしてしまったのは私なんだって。そんなのがずっと続いて、もう耐えられなくて、それで家を出ようと思ったの。
So it must have been taking a huge amount of courage for a girl who can't walk to decide to leave the house. But that means it was painful enough to make her decide something like this.
家族から逃げたかったんだけど、それだけじゃなかったわ。私はまだ生きてるし、人生が台無しになったわけじゃない。それを確かめたくて。
So that's why you came to the Keifu Academy then. Kotori nods.
慶風学園なら完全バリアフリーだし、学生寮もある。東京の実家から
車で3時間ほどで来られるでしょ。お父さんも何かあったらすぐ駆けつけられるってそう思ったみたい。説得するにはここがぴったりだったの。工学系に興味があるって嘘をついたんだけど、実際はさっぱり興味なかったから、入学してからえらく苦労したわ。
And that's why... So when I transferred to the school, Kotori was at the top of her class for general studies, but for specialized topics, she was near the bottom. And when she came or entered the soaring club, that changed, but still. So that's amazing that you could convince your parents like that.
私でも手に職をつけられるかもって思ったみたい。どのみちバリアフリーの学校を選ばなきゃいけないから、他に選択肢も少なかったし、それにひばり姉も援護してくれたの。
I see.
そんな理由で選んだ慶風学園だったけど、今はすごく楽しいし、友達がいてやりたいこともあって、彼氏もうできたから。
So Kotori said this part nervously and grabbed my shirt collar.
ここに来てよかった。
So well, thank you for coming here. I said this and then rubbed Kotori's head softly. Well, her hair was glossy and felt so good to the touch. And Kotori narrowed her eyes as though it tickled, and then she blushed. And then you were finally able to ride in the glider too. So Kotori suddenly became happy and raised her face. So how was your first flight?
最高に気持ちよかった。
It was good! Kotori's eyes sparkled as she spoke. It was almost like she was reporting the fun events of her day to a parent.
空を飛ぶのってあんなに気持ちがいいのね。
And this feels even more amazing when you fly it yourself.
だと思うわ。
So we haven't begun making Kotori's cockpit yet. And we hadn't decided to begin after the glider's body was finished. So Kotori rubbed her temples as though she were thinking of a plan. So what's wrong?
今日は嬉しいことが一度にいっぱいありすぎて、わーってなって、なんかもうわけがわかんない。グライダーに初めて乗って、それだけでも人生の絶頂みたいに幸せだったのに、あんなところで告白なんてするんだもん。
Well, I thought it was the best time to tell you.
きっと最高だった。10年経っても20年経っても思い出すと思う、今日のこと。
Well, it was a success then. I smiled a bit jokingly, and Kotori made a serious face and looked up at me.
一応確認だけど、葵くん、本気なの？
So, Aoi-kun, are you serious about your confession? Okay, so I noticed that I'm going to run almost an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and stop here for this episode. So we'll see how this conversation continues next time. So we do know that it turns out that Kotori likes Aoi, and the same is true the other way. And now that Kotori is a little bit more comfortable, she's willing to go home to see her parents during the Obon festival. And we'll see how all this continues, given that there's a lot of things that have happened here. And, well, at least the other club members, so Ageha, Yoru, no, not Yoru, Yoru's not a club member, but Asa, they support the romance. And I'm not sure how Amane feels. But anyways, with all that in mind, I'll see you in next episode.